This episode of Inside the Game is powered by MSI Gaming. The game just got real. Head to our website at insidethegame.ca for all the details. What's up, everybody? We are Inside the Game, your one source for everything cool in video games. Don't forget to head to insidethegame.ca, where there you can submit your clip and be the highlight to end off our show. We got a jam-packed episode. Scott and I dive into the world of Stadia. We've got an interview talking about Watch Dogs Legion. It's not gone yet, maybe delayed, but it's still coming. All that and a whole lot more in today's episode, so stick around. Here's the inside scoop. Alright, so it didn't take long for some images of the PlayStation 5 dev kit to make the interwebs. It's true, it is out there. Tom Warren from The Verge stated that the reason it looks like this giant flying V is so that it's easier for developers to stack when they're stress testing, as well as it allows the air to vent in the middle and disperse out. Now, what are the odds, you think, that the PlayStation 5 is actually going to look like the V? Remember the giant X from the original Xbox? This could be a possibility. We've seen stranger things. I'd like to know what you think. Hit us up on insidethegame.ca.
So Call of Duty Modern Warfare is dropping its biggest free DLC that any COD game has ever seen. We're getting a bunch of new maps, a bunch of new game modes, and even some new special ops missions as well. There will be 3 new multiplayer maps from the old original Call of Duty Modern Warfare: Crash, Shipment, and Vacant. A new ground war map, Port, additional 2v2 gunfight maps, Cargo, Atrium, 4 new multiplayer game modes, Reinforce, Gunfight, OSP, and Infected. There's also going to be 2 new weapons, the Ram 7 and the Holger 26. So if you haven't downloaded that update yet, make sure you fire up COD right now, because you don't want to miss out on any of this awesome new action.
PlayStation Now is a massive service on the PlayStation Network. Games like Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, God of War, Mortal Kombat X, all kinds of games. 300 to download, over 800 to stream, completely up to you, but the latest addition is PUBG. Continuing on with more PlayStation news, it's a big old happy birthday to PlayStation. Reaching year 25, selling over 100,000 units in Japan on day 1, reaching the first console ever to sell 100 million units globally.
So after the remake of Resident Evil 2, everybody kind of has the same questions on their mind. Is there going to be more Resident Evil remakes, and how far is it going to go? Well, GameStat has reported on a leak. Apparently we're going to have a Resident Evil 3 remake. And not only that, but they're also working on Resident Evil Resistance, a different kind of side project. Now, they've teased that both these could be combined together to be the ultimate package, and it's known as the Z Edition.
So we got some pretty exciting news. The first installment of the Dark Pictures anthology, Man of Medan, is actually getting a buddy pass. Man of Medan follows the story of 5 friends who've embarked on what should have been a fun-filled adventure in the South Pacific Seas, only to find themselves trapped aboard a ghost ship with a dark and twisted secret. As a special offer, Supermassive Games is giving owners of Man of Medan a free Friends Pass for a limited time. From now until January 6, 2020, players who own a full game, including those who have purchased previously, will receive 1 free Friend Pass, which will allow them to invite a friend to 1 complete playthrough of the game in shared story mode. The feature is included in the latest update, so the owner of the full game needs to have the latest version of the game. Once you have that, navigate to the shared story mode via the main menu. Invite your friends. In order to accept the invitation and begin playing, your friend will need to have downloaded the trial version of Man of Medan.
No Man's Sky was a game that was mired in a lot of controversy when it first came out. Now, they've put out their giant overhaul, the 2.0 update, known as No Man's Sky Beyond, and it kind of had a mixed reaction, but it brought in a lot of players overall. Now, they're releasing their bigger kind of cleanup update to try and fix a lot of the bugs that sprung up from their big overhaul. Included in this update, some of the changes are the addition of multiple multi-tools, enhancements to the terrain editor, there's VR creature riding, new technologies, new base parts, and new map enhancements. With all these changes to kind of clean up the overhaul, it makes me wonder, should I get back into No Man's Sky? It seems like now is a good time to find out.
I'm flying solo in this review as the Seeker. I jumped into CI Games' latest Sniper Ghost Warrior contracts. We play as the Seeker, and to be honest, I was a little nervous going into this game. Coming off of a kind of a rocky franchise, I would call it. Sniper Ghost Warrior series has kind of had its own little ups and downs. 2 was a decent game, 3 kind of left Nate and I both a little mixed. Wasn't too sure exactly what we thought of that, but coming into contracts, it's nice to see that they've changed up the formula. Kind of taking this more of a hitman approach and giving you contracts to go out and eliminate. They've really expanded, I think, their overall feel of how the game pushes you through the story and actually wants you to go and do other things than what we have in the past. Last game in Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, it was an open world map, and they've kind of taken that feel and shrunk it down into an open world level. So now we go out to our destinations, and it is definitely choose your own path to get to your target, but how you choose to go there is really up to you.
That's odd.
Visual on the enemy!
The target is dead.
He will not be mourned.
The game is actually beautiful. I was really impressed on how well graphically this game is so smooth and fluid. It is nice to get the sunrise will come up when you're over in Siberia and the sun will hit you in the right angle. It actually blinds you. It is really, really pretty. The abilities, I think, is honestly where this game is starting to really shine, and it has its hooks into me the most is because there is so much to upgrade now, and it kind of gives you the skill tree, whether it's your mask, because now you're a Seeker. You're not the old agent from before. You're this different guy, and you've been given a task and a mask to go with this, which gives you other abilities. And along with these other abilities, then you can have like a little support drone with you and other things like that. But all of it is broken down into different segments that allow you to go in and completely customize your sniper to your fitting. Of course, at the beginning of every mission, you're given this big cutscene of why you're there, who the contract is, and what your purpose is. Now, because the mission is so big, sometimes you're going to save your game and come back to it. The problem being is when you come back, you then can't skip that cutscene. You have to watch this huge cutscene all over again. And it kind of baffled me as to why I can't just skip it. I definitely want to see what's going on and why I'm there, what my objective is, but if I've already seen it once, shouldn't I be able to skip it?
Vladimir Romanovich, free this man and you will be richly rewarded. Stay focused, Seeker.
Now obviously coming into a sniper game, what really is going to hurt the most or benefit is how the AI plays, how they react to when you hit a target. And it's kind of mixed, to be honest. Sometimes you can clear out an entire area, that's okay, but sometimes if you alert the AI, they'll get this little red triangle over the head, which is just a little weird sometimes because they'll just duck behind cover, and then I can pick them all off. And then other times, same thing happens, and then they all just charge at me. So I don't know where I'm at really. Sometimes it's either gonna work, and I'm able to pick off everyone, or sometimes I'm gonna get nailed. And the AI can be really, really tough at times, which is fine. But I don't know if a guard is alerted, shouldn't they just be alerted and come at me instead of just hiding for them to be picked off? It's a weird scenario with the AI, something I would like to see a little bit more polish on. Overall though, this game is really, really good. I was so impressed to see CI's taking this franchise and keep working on it and putting more love and care into it and bringing it further to, I think, what is ultimately the best sniper game they've created yet. So Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts, I think, is obviously the best they've created yet. And with each level now, they've given us more of a reason to go back, introducing challenges that will want you to go back and do certain kills and certain things in specific ways, but you can only do that once around. So when you go out and do one mission, sometimes you're not able to get all the challenges, that you're gonna have to come back and replay that level. So it's nice to see that they've taken the extra care and go, it's not just a story you're playing. So once you're done the story, what are you gonna do? Put it away? No, because there's so much more to do still within the game with all these other challenges. You'll have a list of 5, 6 objectives, but then you'll also get a list of about 6 challenges to go for as well. And each of these will then give you cash and other bonuses that are required to upgrade your stuff. Very cool. Love the tenderness and the care that they put in this game. Now, one of the things I want to touch on the most is something I kind of see that isn't there, and I'm surprised because it has been in the past. It's multiplayer. There isn't any. There's no multiplayer yet. CI Games says it's something they're working on, but they wanted to put the care and love in the story campaign, and that's exactly what they've done. So I'm curious to see when the multiplayer comes, but as of right now, this is a single player game only, and I'm really enjoying my time with the game. So that was my review of Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts, the best yet in the series. Great on CI Games for keeping it going. I think honestly, if you are looking for that stealth sniper experience, this is a must grab for everybody. I'm there with an 8. Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts is the best in the franchise, bringing with it lots to customize your Seeker with, from his gear to the abilities. The game has a solid campaign with great replayability thanks to the challenges that will have you wanting to go back to the game for that one more piece of gear you couldn't get before. Watch Dogs Legion is delayed. However, I've got some info on the game. I caught up with Caitlin at EGLX to talk about what's coming in the latest Watch Dogs.
London. Greatest city in the world. Well, used to be.
Okay, so I'm here with Caitlin, who's the lead narrative designer of Watch Dogs Legion. Caitlin, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm fantastic.
Good.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the game and your role within the game?
Yeah, definitely. So I am a narrative designer on the game. So just for starters, if you're not familiar with what a narrative designer is, it's kind of like a hybrid between like a game designer, a systems designer, and a writer. So we write, we work in systems, we work with teams, and it's a really like collaborative hybrid role. So it's kind of, so I do a bit of writing, I do a bit of implementation, so it's kind of like a technical writer role.
That's a busy role by the sounds of things.
It is, yeah. And it's perfect for a game like Legion, which is all about playing as anybody, right? And so it's about recruiting people into this resistance movement. And so there's a lot of really good kind of meaty narrative design work to get into, such as building the stories around how these people exist in the world, what that kind of looks like, making them full characters and people that you want to play as. So
now, in previous Watchdog titles, we had Aiden, we had Marcus.
Yes.
So that was a narrative focus with one character only, a protagonist.
Yes.
Then we move on to Legion, and now you guys blow it up to everybody?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
We're thinking this is exactly where the brand needed to go.
Excellent, yeah.
This had better be good. And allow me to introduce you to the deadliest of the lot. She's not old, she's experienced.
So you actually hit on kind of a core idea that we're building, because Watch Dogs Legion is still a narrative-driven game, right?
Yes.
And so in the first one, it's Aiden, who's kind of a lone hacktivist, and then we built towards a hacktivist collective group.
Yep.
And now we're going global, and we wanted to raise the team along with that. And so we wanted to build the team, like, what is a resistance movement? It's everybody, and it can be everybody. So that's kind of where Play As Anyone comes in.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What was that like to implement such a big expansion like that? Because like I said before, it's just one focused character, and it's kind of easy to work on that narrative, but when you're able to tap into so many people within such a large world, how do you make that system work?
With a lot of really talented people working together.
That's fair.
Game dev's always a collaborative process, right? But when
Yeah.
you're building something that's kind of new and there's not a lot of precedent for, you really have to kind of rely on everybody to help, like, own what they're doing and work towards the same goal. And so a lot of it is different minds coming together, building different parts of the system that's all going to coalesce into this really, really cool experience.
That's awesome. Is there a favorite mechanic you already have within the game?
Oh, yes, but I'm biased.
Oh, okay.
Well, because I'm a writer,
Yeah.
narrative designer, I really, really, really like the kind of stories and the narrative we put towards all the people that exist in the world and how you go about bringing them into your DedSec. So.
How do you make those systems work that you're able to pick out so many different people and make them so different? I mean, they all have their own kind of backstory as well?
Yeah.
Is that just a generated system, or is that something you actually focus on per NPC?
So every character is kind of created through like a matrix of different pieces. So we, working with game designers and level designers and art and everybody, kind of like isolated what are the different pieces that make a character and put those together. So it's story, it's what they look like, it's how they behave in the world, it's how they play as a character as well, like in gameplay. And so it's kind of, every character is this like created bit of all these different facets of what a person is.
So Ubisoft now is focused on a lot of systems that are going, say, like with a bigger broad system that keeps the players, like a service, keeps going. Is Ubisoft working on that for Watch Dogs Legion, or is this just a standalone title? You play it once, when it's over, it's over?
That is something that I'm not allowed to talk about just yet.
Oh, I'm onto something here. I'm onto something. I see where this is going. So, how did you get developed into working with Ubisoft? Where do you come from? What's your background?
Yeah, so I come from games. I've been in games for a while. I've worked on a ton of different kinds of games. I worked in indie, I worked in mobile, VR, escape games. I worked on ARGs. And then I just kind of wanted to take that next step. I really, really like how we tell stories in games, and AAA is a version of storytelling that I haven't had a chance to do yet until this game. So it was just kind of like the next evolution of my career.
That's fantastic. I have a very important question.
Yes.
So, Assassin's Creed's always had this little narrative thread that kind of ties in with Watch Dogs. So, if I want to hack anybody and I walk into a bar and I go to the bartender, and am I going to get Desmond Miles?
I have no idea.
Oh, come on. Well, okay, so here's what I'm going to do then, okay? I'll talk to Adam and Emily and yourself, and if you need a mocap for Desmond, I'm available, right? We'll make this work, okay?
Drew, we're back with more Planet Zoo!
All right, Scott, we are back with more Planet Zoo. We jumped in. It is now out of beta, pre-release stuff. We're into the full version. Jumping back in, what'd you think?
So just a refresher on this game, it's a very big tycoon kind of game, and it has a lot of details to it, but they weren't exactly shown to us in the beta form of the game. So we had a chance to jump in, we kind of played some of the different modes, we saw how it worked out, and now it's like they've added the complication to it. They've kind of flushed out all these systems that they were working on, and it's a little overwhelming for me.
It was very overwhelming, to be honest. I jumped into the campaign, did a couple of tutorials there, which I thought and felt it was a lot better explained this time around versus when we were in with the beta. I kind of had a better understanding and direction of where I'm supposed to go and how I'm supposed to apply the tasks and things that they were giving me and telling me to do. So it was easier to work around that, but then once you're kind of out building your zoo, man,
it gets hard. You almost need a handhold mode for a little while, a kind of half tutorial step to get you fully on your own, because I felt like I was a zoo manager day one. on my new job, and I had no idea what I was doing. So even though we went through the tutorials, which I thought were pretty well crafted, and they had characters and stuff, they made it interesting.
Bernie's voice was different. Did you notice that? They redid the VO for Bernie, which I thought was kind of weird because I kind of liked them better before, I think.
But they've also added more of a tutorial to the franchisee mode.
Yeah.
So if you go into the franchisee mode now, it has a hint and options, like a help taskbar that pops up, and it'll tell you kind of how to do certain things. And that was exactly what was missing from the first look. I believe it was you that jumped into the franchise mode the first time, got very lost because there's no direction, and it was just kind of a brick wall. I jumped in this time into franchise mode straight away, and it was a little more intuitive. They had at least that little option where I could pause the game, take a look at how to do the actual thing. How do I actually get an animal into my zoo? Because I had forgotten from the first time. It's a little complicated. There's a lot of steps to it. So,
well, that's the problem, is that I feel it's too complicated. So remember the old days, you would build a path and then you just drop an aquarium down, or you drop a little section for any animal to go into. Now it is, you have to go in, put your path down. Okay, I was just tutorial only, all right? I'm over at the lemurs, and I'm asked to then put up a sign and a speaker.
Oh yeah.
So which should seem pretty simple. So I had to then get into where the sign was, put the sign on in front of the area for the lemurs, but then I had to go into the menu for the sign to select the lemurs
and choose the actual education program.
Exactly. But then I had to then attach the speaker to the top of this pole, but I can't have the speaker too close to another speaker because then they'll clash with each other.
No, that's what was happening.
That speaker then has to be powered. I'm like, man, am I doing like a city builder too?
Yeah,
because
so they have, there's layers to the construction. You have to consider the walls, the edges of the walls. Is it climbable? Is it not?
Yes.
Is it a large enclosure or is it a small exhibit? Do these exhibits need heat or cooling? That's another consideration. So there's a lot to take in. Even if you just pick a spot, say you want to have a zoo out in the North American plains like we expect, you have to take little pieces of information from every animal you intend to have and make sure that you have everything set up. Otherwise, these animals will get sad and eventually they pass on.
I feel like I almost have to go and do real world research to play this game, to build the stuff I need to so my animals don't get sick, or they don't get, or they die or something.
So the sickness of the animals, the conditioning of the animals is so complicated.
Oh my God.
So the temperature is one thing, you get the habitat and its contents is another, and then you compare them with other animals and that'll bring in the social anxieties or uplift them. They can reproduce, you can add contraceptives so you can stop them from doing that. There's a whole breeding section. It gets so complicated that there's such a depth to the game, but trying to jump in and pick up where we left off, I feel a little lost.
I appreciate the depth that they've had in the game. It's there if you want to really kind of go that deep, but I wish they had another mode, but just a little easier. That didn't have to worry about your animal gets sick, you then have to call the vet, bring the vet in, box up your animal, and then bring them over to the veterinarian.
Quarantine.
Yeah, and then bring them in, have them do surgery or whatever they need to do at the time, and then you got to box them back up and bring it back out. It's just like, but I just want to build a zoo.
The micromanaging is intense. You have to have all these caretakers for the zoo and enough of them to service the animals. Otherwise,
it's too much.
They look bad and they're not happy, and then the guests aren't happy, and then you start losing money. And this franchise mode just gets quickly out of hand very, very badly. For the casual experience, there is this kind of sandbox mode that you can tweak the rules to, but it doesn't do a good job of explaining that, or that that's available to you as well. So even if you do get in there and have this fun time where you can take away animal deaths and things like that, you can grow this zoo, but I can never visit you.
Which is a little disappointing, because when you build this franchise, this big massive place of a zoo that you want people to go and visit, you want to see what you've created and be able to share that experience.
And the whole fact that I could see you on the map as a franchise owner as well, we're on a friends list, so it seems like there's this social fabric there.
We can trade animals, but that's about the extent of it.
It's not as direct as just hopping into your zoo and checking it out like I wish it was.
Yeah. Overall, Scott, jumping back into Planet Zoo, I think the game is gorgeous. It is there for those who like to micromanage to that level of detail. And the fact that you can go into your setup, and if you want to add just one board, 2 boards, make whatever you want in your own experience, it kind of helps bring something that just really isn't out there for others. I'm feeling a little still overwhelmed with the experience of the game. It is there if you have hours, and this is kind of your only game to play, but if you're looking for that casual experience to jump in and play, I really don't think that this is the game.
No, it's hard. I can't recommend this for that kind of a player that wants to just have a fun time with the animals. It's really not quite that kind of a game. It's more of a massive managing experience.
Big time. Planet Zoo. What are you scoring this one?
This one's a complicated one because I am excited about all the details, but it's a little bit too much for me. I know it's there for the connoisseur, but as somebody who's a little more casual, has a little bit less time to put into one game like this, it's a hard experience for me to get into personally. So I have to give my score as a 7 out of 10.
Not bad at all. So I think Planet Zoo is there for a lot of people, but again, coming for us who are kind of more on that casual experience, it's not really ours. I'm there with the 7 as well.
Planet Zoo is a massive tycoon game that has no rival in terms of depth and micromanagement. A beautiful game, but ultimately overwhelming for casual players that might want a quick experience.
All right, Scott, we're flinging spells at each other in this one, buddy. Scott, you and I jumped into the VR, we put our Oculus headsets on, and we were throwing spells at each other in Battle Sorcerers.
Yeah.
What did you think of this one?
This was cool. I had no idea what to expect. You told me we were going to be playing some magic, throwing some stuff around, and that's pretty much what it ended up being.
Pretty much. That's all there is really right now for the foundation of the game. It's still pretty early stages of what the build is. Basically right now, there's you and me. They call it a campaign, but it's more of a tutorial.
Yeah, it was very brief.
Yeah, very. And then there's this 5-person battle arena, which we never were able to find anybody in to actually experience that with. But you and I went head to head. I won a couple, you won a couple.
I finally started getting it,
You started getting it, yep. We each got a little frustrated though as well. So the whole premise is you have 3 little goblets in front of you, each containing this magical orb.
Yeah, an element or of some kind, yeah.
Wind, fire, and earth. Pretty simple, right? But then you combine all these things together. You take one water, you grab another water, you put them together, all of a sudden you get an ice spear.
Yeah, like a level 2 water is ice spear. And then level 3, you take 2 level 2 waters together, you put those together, and you get a level 3 water spell, which could be, I think it's a giant tidal wave that just knocked everything away.
I think that's the next one up.
Yeah, there's quite a tier to the spells.
It is cool. I thought it was really well thought of, the experience of the spells and how you combine them. Because if you, for the most part, just use common sense, that'll get you to where you want to go to get that spell. All of a sudden, I had this fire golem too. I threw that out, and he was this big fire flame.
Starts lumbering together towards you,
It was cool, but there's a big but. So when even to get into the menus, there's a big jarring like jitter.
Oh, I forgot about that. That was rough, yeah.
Holy man, when you're in VR and you have the headset on, if it doesn't run smoothly the entire time, you get a bit of this jarriness. Like it can almost knock you over.
You could fall over if it hits you at the wrong moment, for sure. Yeah.
And this one had a lot of that janky. All of a sudden, the frame would. I was in the game, and then all of a sudden it would pop out, and I would see both my Oculus sensors. And I would just be shaking.
Yeah, just
and then I get into the game.
A violent shake between each kind of load tier, and that was hard to deal with, and it kind of threw you off, especially when you jump into playing a game and you're excited, and then you just get hit with that. It's quite a jarring experience. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely is. And then as I'm crafting my spells and getting ready to throw them at you, I would throw, and then there it is. And then I couldn't grab it back to get it to throw it again, so I had to make another one. And then by the end of one match, I think I had 4 or 5 of these spells lingering in front of me.
Just kind of failed orbs, yeah, and that was not good in a one-on-one battle where timing is everything, and it's kind of a lane versus thing. So if you're trying to throw that answer to a goblin or a golem, I should say, and you can't throw it, that could mean the life or death.
Yeah, so each of us have a health bar, and you're trying to basically deplete the other person's health bar. Pretty simple in concept, a lot of fun when it is pulled off correctly.
Oh yeah.
And the premise behind this game, I think, is phenomenal. I think this is an awesome idea. I enjoy the game when it works, but when it doesn't work, man, can I... So I have very little patience, so I'm going to be completely honest. And when things go like a little south on me like this, I get real mad real fast. So to have those orbs standing there, and then as you keep nailing me with one spell after another, and I can't counter, and then I get a healing spell, because you can heal yourself too, with certain powers you put together, and you kind of just throw them on the ground, and then it's supposed to heal you. Well, I look down, and I've got 3 of those sitting here. I'm like, no wonder my health
never went off. Nope.
Never worked at all. So now I'm getting real mad.
Yeah, and I had all those issues right at the start too, and that's maybe why you landslide me at the beginning, and you just dumpstered me at the first. But it was because I couldn't get the throw maneuver right. It was like the motions I was using with the controllers weren't quite lining up to what they considered a throw, and then the orbs sticking and everything that would happen periodically, off and on. It made it really hard to kind of get into because I wanted to beat you. And it was kind of a scenario of just, all right, well, one more game. Okay, wait, well, one more game. And then, but to do that because of issues and errors is not a good idea.
When we are in the lobby, you're able to kind of mess with your spells and learn them, because that's the biggest thing. If you don't know what spell you're going to grab at the time, and because you have to conjure so many, merging these spells together to get to the proper spell you need to get to, it can be really frustrating. But when you're in this lobby, you're able to work on that, and it's like a practice area in a sense. And they've got a dummy on the far side you're able to throw these things at, whatever. And then if you look over to the right, you're able to pick your sorcerer. Right now there's only 2. There's a male version and a female version. And then you and I jumped in the game, and it looked like you had your back to me the entire time in your arms.
That was a strange one. Yeah, we were not lining up properly. You were doing a T-pose the entire time and with your hands way outstretched. It was not exactly what you were doing in your living room, I'm sure.
No, no, I wasn't. Not at all. But the game, I got a feeling that the game obviously is not completed. So to experience some of these issues is no real surprise, but it's something that hopefully the developers, G1, will work on and polish a lot, because I think the potential of Battle Sorcerers is really cool. Well, it's something that's really kind of never really done before either. I'm excited for this.
I haven't seen anything like this, and especially that 5-player kind of deathmatch.
Oh man,
that could be really cool. But is there going to be more characters, or is everybody going to be the same sorcerer? There's another thing in the campaign, the tutorial campaign. It shows a shadow goblet, and that's a whole new element that you could theoretically mix into all these other elements and make different spells. So I feel like there's a bit of a roadmap coming in the future that we just haven't seen yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Overall, Scott, you and I had a great time playing Battle Sorcerers with some frustrating moments. Recommend? Not recommend? Where you at?
I have to recommend this one based on the principle and the idea of the game alone. I think if we iron out some of these issues and we get kind of a player base going, I think this game could really have some future to it.
Absolutely. I think there's great promise ahead in the game, but there are some issues that need to be ironed out. It's going to get there as they continue to develop the game. I can't wait to see what other sorcerers we're going to get, what other powers we're going to have, what other creatures that we're going to be able to conjure. I think what's there is great, but it's still so early that things are a little difficult sometimes to kind of continue with the game. But definitely, I am recommending this one. Now, before we go, head over to our YouTube channel, like, subscribe, and leave a comment on this video, and you might win your own copy of Battle Sorcerers.
Battle Sorcerers is an interesting concept with a lot of potential. We really enjoyed the mixing of magic and spell-based combat, but game bugs seriously hurt the experience.
Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment, and you could win Battle Sorcerer.
When we were at EGLX, I met Dean, who explained how his kids helped him make their little project called Squared.
All right, so I am here at EGLX with Dean, and he was just telling me that his kids are actually designing this little game for him. What's going on? Can you explain how they kind of came out to this, and how do you get them started into game design?
So I'm fortunate that I'm one of the owners in a company called Rhino Active, and the kids spend a lot of time in that environment.
Cool.
So they came up with this concept to basically get squares and match them by color. And the reason behind it was we wanted to do like a little business for them. When I was a kid, I had a fruit stand, so this is our digital fruit stand for them.
That's awesome. So they're kind of just growing up within the industry?
Yeah, for the last like 3 or 4 years, they spend a lot of time in the office, and it's a great culture of people, and this has been the side effect is their business. So they get involved in creating the colors and doing a Facebook campaign to help market the game.
Okay, so how big's your actual studio then? Who's all kind of involved in making this and helping them kind of see their dream?
So Rhino Active is a London, Ontario-based company, and there's about 15, 16 people there, but they're also attached to a marketing company called Rhino Active.
Yep.
So collectively, they employ a little over 50 people.
What else do you guys do at Rhino?
A lot of contract work for enterprise apps. For an example, Metal Cop Innovations. There's a piece of software they created. You can take a picture of your face, and it'll show the injection points for Botox injection. Okay. So it's a lot of math involved.
Yeah, excellent. So if someone else is looking to kind of get into game design and you've already got your kids going, you got any suggestions or advice?
Probably go to school. Stay in school probably is the best piece of advice.
That's it? So you started off doing your own little stuff, now you're coming into your own and you're bringing your kids in. You got other projects planned ahead?
Yeah, like we're this is like a family, the first game for the family, but there's other more enterprise apps that we're doing.
Yep.
We've got a digital business card and a few other platforms that we're presenting.
Excellent. Dean, thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you.
Let's climb the mountains of Morta and meet the Bergsons.
Is not where they live, or what they do, or possess. What makes a family is what they share.
So Corey, this week we checked out Children of Morta. Now this is like a top-down, pixelated, beat-em-up kind of roguelite game.
Yes, yeah, that's actually a good way to put it, roguelite. Because we're not like full-fledged roguelike game on this one. You know what? We didn't hear a whole lot about this game before it came out, but Drew gave this one to us for review, and I think I know why, because we played a couple games that kind of look like this game, so it drew me in right away. I was just like, ooh, I like the pixel art in this. Like, and this looks really good.
The roguelite style is definitely my favorite.
Oh, I know. I'm playing it, and I mean, before I get into it too much, it is difficult. I was like, this is right up Scott's alley. So I was like, this was a good one to get. So yeah, just jumping into this, we're following the Bergson family, who happens to be fighting against kind of an evil power that seems to be taking over the world around them.
Yeah, the corruption is threatening the mountain of Morta, and you're kind of the family that guards the mountain of Morta.
Yeah, and this, actually, you know what? This is really more story-based than I thought it would even be. I mean, obviously in an RPG-style game, there is going to be a fairly heavy story presence, but because we're dealing with one family, it's very particular, and every person in this family has a role and their own story, and it's much deeper than I even thought it went.
Oh, it was super deep, yeah. So it's centered around the Bergsons and meeting each of the characters, and then kind of their reactions to the things that go on. So you can find other characters and kind of loop them in and build your family as time goes on. Each time you go back to your house, that's kind of where it hits you with a big cutscene. Yeah. It kind of explains what you just did, maybe, or the different relationships between the family members, and there's a lot to fall in love with there. The narrator, I've heard his voice in games before.
Yes, I don't know who it is exactly, but his voice is fantastic, and it sets the perfect tone for this game.
Margaret awoke, startled, a cold sweat clinging.
You would expect that if there's going to be deaths, maybe that's not going to be kind of, how are you going to write a story around that?
Yeah.
Neon Chrome did it very well. I feel like this game did it very well in the same kind of way, where if you die, you have the crystal that the grandma gives you, so you actually are saved, you come back before you die. There's a story element to explain the roguelite aspects.
Well, that's the nice thing too, is because this game is tough. And I'm not great at these games, so I'm going to die when I play these games. And there's a lot of people out here. Oh yeah, for sure. They've built this game so that it's not easy to sail through. But what I liked is when you die, you can choose to go back to your house. And when you go back to your house, the story still changes.
Yeah.
It's not like it brings you back to some, reverted save point and now you're continuing forward again. The story's still pushing forward. The first time I died in this game was actually the first time I went back to the house, and then I was introduced to the next character I got to play as, which is the main character's daughter at the time. She's an archer style character. And what I thought was really cool was like, well, I died. I feel like I'm kind of getting rewarded for this.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really neat how the story kind of still pushes forward. And every time, it doesn't matter if you're traveling back, under your own will back to your home, or it's because you've died and now you have to go back as well. There's always something that's changing, and for me, that's kind of a cool little aspect to this.
Yeah, definitely. It lends to the time between the rounds still being fun and still mattering. Even if you died, you're expected to.
Yeah.
The game whoops you pretty bad at the start. And I feel like they have the milestones put in there to kind of let you face that. And then the triumph when you finally beat that level and get
feels
through.
pretty satisfying.
It's a big deal. And you also collect all these different coins and experience throughout each of your playthroughs. So there's a long game going on.
Oh, yeah.
Where you can add these skills and different attributes and buff up your different attributes of the different characters. You start off with this, the Bergson dad.
Yeah.
And he's got this big shield and a big broadsword, and he's a very protective,
very
big
tank-like,
man. And that's his role, that's his character, and his story all tells you the same thing about him. But his abilities are very wide sweeping and very defense oriented, whereas the next character, the archer, very single target, very quick moving,
DPS,
very opposite in all aspects of that character. And then you go further on, there's the roguelike child. I say roguelike, but thief-like more. He's got 2 knives and he's very quick, and it's a whole different playstyle. So each of these characters kind of changes how you're going to go through the level. And depending on how well you've buffed up your character, maybe you want to take a different character into a different scenario and see how that goes.
Yeah, and that's kind of the nice thing, is because you start to unlock these different characters that have, a different play style. Well, there's a whole different set of abilities that come with those characters. And it's nice to be able to customize, the skill tree for that character. But what I really liked, and you find out as you kind of progress through the game, is that there's another set of attributes that covers the entire family.
Yeah.
So as you level up this set of attributes, it's not just, say, the Bergson dad that you're upgrading his armor. You're actually upgrading, if you read it, the Bergson family's armor. So it doesn't matter which character you take out. This tree that you're building is also helping every character that you play with. And so you have that kind of umbrellas you, that so if you have really played a couple characters and really brought their level up, and there's a couple characters you want to bring up a few more levels, you still have a bit of a something to fall back on, some abilities and some skills that aren't going to get you just crushed right off the bat, right?
You can take the new member out and not have the worst time.
Exactly.
Now, there's 2 kind of skills to that. There is the armor that you like you said, you spend money on, that you take from each round, and you upgrade the armor for the whole family, or the attack for the whole family, or whatever. There's also the family tree traits, which are also kind of just a little different, but also do the same kind of thing, where if you level the dad up to level 4, I believe it is, you get his first skill, adds extra health to all team members.
Yeah, it's like a passive kind of skill,
Yeah, and all these passives and actives all add up to giving you kind of a unique kind of playthrough. Also, when you get into these levels, there's these abilities that you pick up on top of that.
Yeah,
so you
in level,
these
which I thought was really cool.
Unique to the playthrough kind of aspects or abilities that you can grab, and it could really help you. It could be kind of something that's more situational and you don't really need.
No.
You can always leave it. But the openness in the level and the changing of different playthroughs is really what will keep you kind of coming back to this game.
Yeah, and the fact that the levels are randomly generated as you go in, your first run through is going to be much different than your 10th run through. And that's also what keeps that difficulty level high, right? You never know what to expect. You can never get yourself into a pattern or some sort of routine. But what I did find is, as you start to, progress through these levels and these worlds, besides the colors changing, the environment itself really didn't change that much.
No.
And then some of the enemies were going to be different depending on what area you were in, but there was still always those same enemies that you'd see in every area.
Yeah.
So they're just, in variety-wise, there wasn't maybe as much as I would like, because there's so much depth in this game. I kind of expected there to be more variety in the people that you face going in. Not to say there isn't, some very interesting characters you go up against in this game, but when you start seeing the same ones over and over and over again, it does start to kind of get a little repetitive.
Yeah, that's where the game fatigue definitely comes from.
Yeah.
It's meant to be more of a different character running through it, and that's kind of your refreshing take on it than the levels changing, because they really don't change a whole lot.
No. Well, Scott, I feel like a part of the Bergson family. I don't know about you, but I think, we've talked about this one in some pretty good detail. If you got to score it, what are you going to give it?
I really enjoyed this game. I had a great time. I love the way it looks. The visuals matched with the narration and everything really was a great storytelling experience. And then to be able to jump into it local co-op was a huge deal and kind of just made the game exactly what I wanted it to be. I have to give this one a 9 out of 10. I'm blown away.
Okay, you know what? I'm almost there with you because I was actually really surprised by this game. I got drawn in a lot more than I thought I was going to be, especially even just right from the get-go. And it wasn't even just the art style that pulled me in. It's kind of this unique roguelite style of game where it's not as intense for me, so it's a little easier for me to progress through. So I did have a good time, but like I said earlier, there is some issues with repetitive enemies as you go through the game, so that is something to look out for. But really, in the big sense of things, it's not a huge issue. It doesn't hinder your playability through this game.
Yeah.
I gotta give it an 8. Children of Morta is a roguelite style RPG hack and slash that has a deep, interesting story surrounding the main characters. The RPG elements allow a lot of customization to let players cater to their individual style, but the difficulty level may make some shy away from this title, but true fans of the genre may have a new favorite here.
As if filled to the brim with life, started to...
So for this week's Let's Play, Scott and I lace them up and go head-to-head in a game of NHL 20.
Alright, I'm definitely gonna get whooped.
Alright. Good luck, sir.
Here goes.
Two teams hungry for 2 points, and we are ready to drop the puck. The Sabres take possession here on the opening draw, and we are underway.
Oh.
The Leafs will play it in there early as he gets it out of danger. Toronto's got the puck against
Oh, perfect mirroring. Yep.
Middlestad's got it on the offensive end. Comes up with the stop.
Oh.
Toronto's got a hold of it.
Oh, terrible pass. Oh.
Alright. There we go, big
Gave up that awful pass.
Yeah,
that's not where it was meant to go.
Really good defensive play. Moves it quickly over to Patan. Now he takes it over the line.
Oh.
Big hit.
Very nice.
Puts the puck on net. Denies him on the play. Doesn't look like much, but the defensemen are helped out by this puck being in the corner.
Oh man, I hit the goalie.
Oh, I got stuck on your goalie too.
The Sabres power play has expired. Both teams now back at even strength. And nobody's going to be very happy about that one, James. No real chances generated. No momentum. Just a couple of minutes roll off the clock. Nice feed from the right.
Scathing reviews from the announcer.
Yeah, they can be harsh at times.
Here's a short pass to Skinner. Here's a chance to get it out of their own end. Gets it out of his own end.
Oh, missed it.
Oh.
Defensive effort. Feeds the puck across to Skinner. Great defensive
Oh.
work on the play.
Oh, good stick.
The Leafs have it from their own end.
Oh, that guy's just flicking it.
Goes full circle.
Oh, missed that.
1-1.
Oh.
Kapanen's carrying it ahead. Almost lost the puck, but hangs on here as play continues. We got a penalty coming up here.
Oh.
Oh no.
And the officials stop the play. Let's see what
There it is. Here's my chance.
Charge.
Just can't hit like that anymore. Too long to run to finish the check.
Oh.
That's mid.
You know, it was a good hit. Play mix up, you know? Like, they'll never pass across the ice. Nobody does that.
Jurgensen's has won the draw here in the neutral zone. Buffalo's got possession here in the neutral zone.
All right, good period.
There's you underway.
All right.
The Sabres have done a solid job shorthanded to this point.
Oh, I hooked you. Oh, good start. You're already on a power play.
Nice.
5-on-3 for 17
I'm inside
seconds.
the zone. I don't know if that'll count.
Oh yeah, you'll be right down in there.
Nice. Yep. With a 17-second two-man advantage. Oh, and it's gone.
Here early in this second period, their offense has been clicking on all cylinders thus far. Puck is dropped and we are back underway. From point blank range.
Oh!
Ooh, hot shot.
Yeah, the coaches want you to stay aggressive after you score. They do that, and they're able to put another one.
Managed just to get it by Anderson that time. He's been good, man. That glove.
Oh. Yeah.
I was in a good spot
right for the top shelf.
Right in
The
slot.
glove hand, though. Oh.
Yeah, oh, just. That was close.
Tavares wins it in the dots. Buffalo's ready to go on the attack.
Oh.
Slides the puck over.
Oh.
And look at this, picked up by Middlestat. Oh, what a move!
Oh. I didn't even think that.
Oh,
I just shot it once it got by.
That was good.
When the goaltender gets into the butterfly, he's just trying to take away as much.
Oh, it just hit the bottom of his blocker. That's why I was like, how did it even deflect in that angle?
Toronto's got the puck now.
Oh,
Carries it across the line to his teammate.
Oh, That's it. That's this game.
That was very nice.
I couldn't handle the rush to the net.
Yeah, it was almost
Oh,
foretold.
he's mad. He's mad. He's mad.
Oh! Yeah, slams the stick down. Thanks, John Madden.
John Madden.
Thanks, Hockey John Madden. Oh.
Oh, I tried to pass it. Oh, I fell over you. This counted as a trip.
Oh, what?
I wasn't even paying attention. I was looking at my other player. That guy just fell over
Yeah,
top
me
of him.
neither. I moved on to the play and
took him right out.
All right, I accept that one.
Welcome back, everyone. He's Ray, I'm James, and we are ready to kickstart this third period. Buffalo's power play is still intact as this period is now underway, and they take position.
Ripping me now.
Here's a blast, and he says no.
Oh no, I get right back to you.
Oh, too late. I was too late to notice. Oh no!
Oh. Right in front of it.
So many passes.
Oh!
That was. Yeah, he thought about going in for that one. Oh no!
Toronto's got control of the puck. Oh, comes up with the stop. Good heads-up play to knock it away. Here's a short pass to Gergensen.
Gherkins.
That's one from the slot. Stopped by the goaltender.
Backwards.
Lost control for a second there, but regains possession. Quick pass to Eichel. The Leafs pick up the puck here.
Oh no.
Neutral zone.
Almost got
Oh
it.
no!
Oh, I
It
can't.
tripped him.
Oh yeah.
I can't get away from
Oh
it.
yeah. This is it. Sorry, decided. No.
Here's a shot. Oh,
Oh,
the goalie took me out.
that was just,
Oh, which camera angle are you using?
it was like flat, parallel with the boards.
Oh, really?
That's a penalty.
Let's get the official decision. That and then some here in the third. Moves it quickly over to Skinner, and he slides it quickly to Reinhardt.
It's a penalty. What?
And he loses both the puck and his balance after that hit. Blocked in traffic. And there's the
Aw, good game, Scott.
Oh man, that was
That was
good.
fun,
a lot
man.
of fun.
All right, Scott, there's another episode in the books. Now, each and every week, you guys hit us up and let us know that you've got a clip to end off our show. Who do we got this week?
This week we have Mugs44 getting into a goalie scrap in NHL.
Nice. Let's check it out. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you next week inside the game.
Cards game to McAvoy. Shot got in front of another one.
fantastic setup and equally great stop by the goaltender.
Odd man rush, 2-on-1. Paddled aside. A whistle and a rest.
You can't deliver the puck much better than that, but the goalie said no chance. That's an excellent save.
Just a bit under 5 minutes have been played in this, the third period. So far, 4 goals equally divided. A great wrist shot. And down to Connor. He knifed it away. Takes that pass from the other point. Laid on to Wheeler. Oh, pocket pick. He won't avoid something for doing that. And we have a goalie way out of his crease here, headed to the other end.
I think he might be looking for the opposing goaltender to maybe get a little dirty.
Decision.
I don't know why they'd want to do that. You could block one punch if you wanted. But the home team just rolling right over top of the visitors. The crowd is all over them right now.
Man of Medan, the first installment in the Dark Anthology, Dark Pictures Anthology. Man of Medan.
I started laughing.
Whoa, Black Betty. Man of Medan. Oh, my face is gonna be all red for this. Man of Medan. Like how I can't say it now without hearing "Whoa, Black Betty." Thanks, Scott. Man of Medan follows the story of 5 friends who've embarked on.
Black Betty. I couldn't help it. So funny.
So I gotta deal with people